Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Truths We Hide podcast. Today's guest is Aaron Hale. He is a 14-year veteran, military chef, and explosive ordnance disposal team leader that has overcome all odds. From the moment a blast robbed Aaron of his vision in Afghanistan to years later when he lost his hearing, he refused to accept defeat. Now equipped with cochlear implants and his wife Michaela at his side, Aaron has found his passion again. It's back in the kitchen. Cooking is providing not only a sense of happiness for himself, but for others around the world, one piece of fudge at a time. Michaela and Aaron work together every day to create these extraordinary delights, and they can't wait to share them with you. Enjoy this podcast. Good morning, Aaron. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Annette?
Good. Thank you so much for being on here. I'm really honored and I'm really excited. I'm like beside myself. Um I I've been following you for a while, and I know that you're a 14-year veteran and that you were a military chef and EOD. How did that work out?
Well, it was a long career path. And of course, it was a bit windy, twisty path. But I started off uh, most of my life absolutely knowing that I'd never be in the military until about a month before I enlisted. It was just one of those things. It wasn't like I had anything against the military. I just never had considered it. Um, in fact, the truth was I'd never really considered much of anything. I was more of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of guy, and uh, really didn't make a lot of planning. Didn't have a whole lot of ambition for anything. And when I got to college, um, that natural ability that I had to get decent grades in school before, just everybody just passed me by. So after about 3 semesters of being a freshman, gaining the freshman 50, um, yeah, I it was a mutual thing. The school didn't want me back, and I wasn't really ready. So I realized I needed to change something, and I needed to change something about my life, my attitude. I needed to get some discipline. I needed some goals, and I needed to earn some college tuition back. So I loved cooking, and it's always been a passion since I could reach over the counter. So I decided I was going to become a chef. I was going to go to culinary school, but first, like I said, I needed the tuition money, and I decided I was going to enlist, get the GI Bill, and it was purely it was a selfish thing. My enlisting in the service, it was all about me. It was going to be GI Bill, discipline, and OJT because I was going to join the Navy and become a Navy cook for 4 years, get out, and get back on this the real career path, which was becoming a chef. Uh, of course, 14 years later, I'm on a completely different path. But along the way, I was able to cook for the commander of the U.S. Sixth Fleet in Gaeta, Italy, 3-star admiral, and got to live in Italy for 4 years and tour around Europe. It was fantastic. I learned the language, the cultures. It was just amazing. And what an incredible experience. But then this was between 2000 and 2004. So I was in Italy when the World Trade Center attack happened, and by 2004, when my time in Italy was up, we're deep into 2 wars, and I by then had gained quite a bit of responsibility. I'd gained rank. I'd learned some discipline. I began to feel that passion for selfless service, for something, a greater calling than my own. and I wanted to do something that was a little more direct,
Yeah.
a little more, for the war effort. And yes, every job in the military is important. But truth was, even though I loved the Navy, I was less passionate about my job
Hmm.
as a Navy cook, and I wanted to find something that was more me.
Hmm.
So I first volunteered to go to Afghanistan, and I was running an army chow hall on a NATO base. So I went from cooking for the admiral and his 35 or so staff to cooking for 600 and 700 NATO troops with a crew of 11, and it was definitely culture shock, but it was also an amazing learning experience. And that's when I learned about EOD, or explosive ordnance disposal, the
Hmm.
military's bomb squad.
Yeah.
These guys were out doing their maintenance checks on all their gear. They had pulled everything out of their armored truck, and they had bomb suits and robots and all this stuff laid out on the tarmac. And it was like a cool guy garage sale. Uh, so I'd start talking to them, learned about the job, and I was instantly turned on. I mean, this was what I was sent here, to do.
Yeah.
The brotherhood, the technical aspect of the job, the the fact that I would be a first responder on the battlefield, a lifesaver. Of course, um, the first mission is take it to the enemy, but for EOD, it's getting those hazardous explosive devices off of the battlefield before they reach our troops and our allies. And that was awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So of course I was in the Navy and I was a cook, and my rank was undermanned. My The next rank up was overmanned.
Mm.
So not only was I not getting promoted, they did not want me to leave my job. So I put in a request to go Navy EOD. That was denied. Everything's waiverable. Nobody wants to tell you.
Oh.
Uh, so when I got back from Afghanistan, my contract after 8 years was coming to an end, and I had the choice of either reenlisting for another 4 years as a cook, or getting out. And I took my walking papers and I went over to the Army recruiter and gave him my my record, and said I want to go EOD. They said, welcome to the Army.
Oh my gosh.
So for the next year or so, I began training to be a soldier and an EOD technician. And I soon found myself right back in the battlefield, this time in Iraq. And then about a year after that, I was back in Afghanistan.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and my second time to Afghanistan, I was there for about about 8.5 months.
Mm.
And we were, I was by that time, I've been in the Army and EOD for about 4 years, and this was 2011 now. And
Mhm.
I uh, was now an Army, was an EOD team leader.
Mhm.
We run in 3-person teams with one team leader. That's the guy who gets in the bomb suit and goes down range, the most experienced.
Mhm.
On the team, of course, is the one you want actually, working on the devices,
Mhm.
and the 2 team members supporting for this deployment. We were hopping, we were busy all over the battlefield, one after another. And about, like I said, this was around November, 8 months into the deployment, and I was just back from my 2 weeks of R&R back home. Leave. vacation. I got to see my son turn 1. I got to spend Thanksgiving with the family. Got to see my dad, my son's grandfather, dress up like Mickey Mouse for the birthday. Knowing my dad, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So yeah, it was a great last page to put in the photo album.
Yeah.
Because the battlefield, my team picked me up in our own armored truck, and we were heading back to our area of operation when the convoy commander called out and said, EOD, we've got an IED report up ahead, and we'd like you to respond. And I said, well, no time like the present. And we got there, set up our security cordon, and we got to work. I tossed the luggage off of the robot and the robot out of the truck, and we went to work. The robot did its thing, but I wanted to get as much evidence as we possibly could because that's how we instead of going, just being reactionary, we go on the offense is from all the evidence we can pull off this chemical analysis, biometrics, electronics, all the stuff. We try to get it, and it's really part of our job is like CSI. So so I jumped out and I was heading towards the IED that had been dismantled. It was rendered safe by the robot, but I was just going to go get some evidence.
Yeah.
And about 20, 30 meters from the first one, a secondary device that hadn't been detected detonated, punted me into the air. I landed on my knees and elbows, and the lights went out. I got my bell rung, but I thought at the time my helmet just got pushed over my head, right over my face, and it was just, that's why I couldn't see. First I did the functions test, wiggle the fingers and toes, knees and elbows, and everything seemed to be still there.
Right.
So I reached up for my helmet to adjust it just to find out that my helmet was gone. And that's when I thought, oh no, this is bad.
Yeah.
The Army's going to want that back. Anyways, I was rushed back to Walter Reed within 48 hours, and I was going to learn how to be a blind person, because the blast had taken both my eyes, cracked my skull in a few places. I was leaking spinal fluid right out of my nose.
Oh my God.
And blown out both my eardrums. And of course there was burns. Somehow, miraculously, the blast only hit me from the neck up. Just hit me in the head. Virtually untouched, shoulders down.
Oh.
And being a Hale, that was the best place to hit me. It was in my hard head. But the surgeons tried to repair one of my left eyeball, which was just gashed. But it turns out it was just gashed enough to be it would not be repairable.
Right.
So I laid there in the hospital bed, and just those demons tried to creep in.
Right.
The why me's, the what ifs.
Yeah.
And I was angry. I was embarrassed that I'd let these low tech the IEDs we were facing in Afghanistan were just pressure plates with oil jugs, a homemade explosive, and a 9-volt battery. I mean, they were so simple, but they're everywhere. And we're the most well-trained military, some of the best EOD technicians on the planet, and this got me.
Yeah.
I felt like I failed myself. I failed my team, and I was really down on myself. But thank goodness for just an amazing family that was there to support me and not let me go down that spiral, that shame pit.
Right.
That because once you start down that path, it's hard to come back.
Right.
And I just I guess being raised the right way. I'm just not built that way. I needed to find solutions. I needed to find ways that I could still do just about anything I wanted to. So after surgery, after I was after they repaired me as well as they could, stabilized me, they released me from Walter Reed, and I went to one of the VA's blind rehabilitation centers, and I was taught how to be blind. They get the cane and all this technology, like what we're talking on now. My iPhone and computers all have the voiceover technology, text to speech type things, and barcode scanners, all that kind of stuff.
That's amazing.
Uh, and it some things may take a little longer. I may have to learn a different way to do it, but I found out that there's the whole world is still open for me, and I wasn't going to let myself be one of those poor veterans that is down on themselves and sitting on the couch popping pills and uh, thinking that because of what I lost, the world would be over.
Yeah.
Uh, so and when I do my speaking events, I always use a lesson I learned as an EOD tech in my situations since then. Uh, every EOD team is given it's almost an entire shipping container full of tools for each three-person team, bomb suits and robots and power tools and hazmat uh, suits and decontamination pools and scrubbers and all that kind of anything, just to face anything that might explode that we know about
Mm-hmm.
anywhere in the world. So we come prepared. And that shipping container comes with us out to the battlefield, and then we're given this armored truck. It doesn't fit everything in that shipping container. So we then have to leave some tools behind, and we pack everywhere. The boxes on the outside, the shelves on the inside, under the seats, stacking things wherever we can find a nook and cranny. But some tools get left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Afghanistan, most of our missions were on dirt goat trails that no vehicles can fit on. So we go dismounted. We're on foot, and now we gotta find we gotta figure out what tools we can or are willing to carry on our backs in
Mm-hmm.
our rucksacks. So it usually turns out to be like a rope and a carabiner and a few blocks of C4 to fit in with our MREs and our water and spare socks. So, and we still have to do the same job. We still have to fight everything and deal with everything we come across.
Yeah.
So we get very creative, but we just don't worry about the tools we don't have that we had to leave behind.
Mm-hmm.
We figure out new techniques, and we get creative with the tools we still have. So today I take that the same mindset, that same frame of mind, and I don't worry about the tools I don't have. I just try to find solutions, systems, techniques to deal with the challenges that lie ahead. I
That's
was doing
so.
this. I was doing this for 3-4 years. I'd started mountain climbing, marathon running, whitewater kayaking, and I was of course, like I said, I was speaking to veterans and corporations and organizations about success after hardship, through struggle,
Yeah.
and uh, I was able to put my, I guess if somebody above. Thought I needed to put my money where my mouth was again, because in September of 2015, that I contracted bacterial meningitis. The cracks in my skull, which were repaired, I guess, either reopened or weren't fully patched. And a pathway out is a pathway in, for pathogens.
Yeah.
So this bacteria began eating away at my brain. It was awful. I was put back in the hospital. I wasn't even lucid for 4 days straight. Just a few days before this happened, I'd convinced a childhood friend and somebody I'd been talking to over the phone and over messages and whatnot for months. I'd convinced her to come out from California for a first date, a 1 week long vacation in Florida where I live.
Mm-hmm.
It was our first. We've known each other for a long time, but in fact, my mom is Michaela's godmother.
Oh my gosh.
Our mothers are childhood friends, and we've known each other growing up. But I invited her out for a 1 week, first date, and then she went home. I went on a speaking engagement, and just a few days later, we're on the phone. I'm just getting back from my flight, and I'm dropping my bags, and I'm feeling just really fatigued, dizzy. And I told her I'm going to lay down for a nap. I wake up, I don't know how much longer after, and it was just this like a migraine doesn't do it justice. I called 911, and soon I was in the hospital, and I was out. I woke up 4 days later, with Michaela right by my side, and I thought, like, how did you get here so fast? She was in California. She'd been there for days.
Oh my God.
And my mom was there, my sister was there, and they were nursing me back to health again. My mom stayed for a time. My sister did as well, but they had lives they had to get back to. Michaela, on the other hand, never left. She stayed. She didn't even go back to her apartment. Her friends packed up her home and stuff, and they did a road trip with her gear all the way to Florida. And Michaela nursed me back to health. And I guess there are definitely far easier ways to get a second date, but worth it.
What an incredible woman.
Yeah, but it was again. I was the meningitis nearly killed me. But while I was in the hospital for almost a month, the either the meningitis, either the bacteria or the heavy doses of antibiotics stole what was left of my hearing that the bomb blast hadn't taken.
Yeah.
And I was soon completely deaf. So when the doctor tried to break the news to me, first I said, "What? You really what?" But I didn't think anybody in the room thought my joking was funny. But I said, "So what you're trying to tell me is that I'm never going to have to pretend to pay attention ever again? This is fantastic. Silver lining to anything." Anyways, yeah, it was almost 6 or 7 months before there was a chance that I would get my hearing back with or at least some of it with cochlear implants.
Mm-hmm.
But it would take almost 6 months before I'd be able to hear any sound again. So for half a year, I was locked inside my body. Just I mean, the whole world ended at my fingertips, and it was a terribly lonely, isolating feeling. Uh, just oh gosh, just thinking about it is just awful. Um, Michaela was wonderful through the whole thing. She was actually writing every letter of every word she had to convey to me into the palm of my hand, which is in itself tedious and frustrating. But that was the only way I could get message in.
Oh my gosh.
Um, and that's how we managed for half a year. And also, those demons, they try to get in again. I was thinking, my God, what, you know, how much does one guy have to go through? When has this soldier paid his dues?
Right.
When is enough enough? And I tell you what, I've never seriously contemplated, the easy route out.
Wow.
But man, but I can tell you, I can sympathize. Um, I've come very close to feeling like there was just no other option. But thank goodness for my loved ones. Thank goodness for like my military training that just told me to put my head down and push forward and, and keep faith in the ending. Keep faith uh, in a good outcome. So I decided I was thinking too much about myself, and that always turns out bad. When you're uh, only thinking about yourself, you're really doomed to, um, yeah, self victimization.
Mm-hmm.
So it was coming around the holidays again, and I love Thanksgiving. Um, it's a chance to bring family together. Is a just an excuse to eat like an absolute glutton. Um, so we were gonna have this huge feast. We were gonna bring everybody into our home, and I was gonna cook just this gargantuan dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So I started weeks in advance. We were going to have two turkeys, a ham, all the trimmings, and I started making desserts left and right. Doing pies and cakes and cookies, and I started making this fudge. I would make a batch of fudge after another, and each time I would just throw different seasonings, spices, nuts, you name it. I was experimenting, and one after another, I just kept knocking out different batches of fudge. Um, and Michaela said that she noticed something on my face that she hadn't seen in 6 months, and that was a smile. And she also noticed that the fudge was starting to build up. It was starting to pile up, and she started sneaking it out the front door. And I say sneaking like you got to be real stealthy around a blind deaf guy. But she was giving it away. Friends, neighbors, and as it turned out, um, people were coming back and asking, "Hey, we got a baby shower, we got a birthday. Can we buy some of this fudge from you?" And well, uh, the capitalist in me said, "Well, of course you may." And of course, I did what anybody would do in my situation, being blind and deaf. I started a chocolate company,
Of course.
of course. So that's what we did. We started selling our fudge first out of the home, and then we found a commercial kitchen because soon the demand was getting more than we could handle. I could cook all on my own, and EODfudge.com was born, or this time instead of Explosive Ordnance Disposal, Extraordinary Delights.
That's a perfect name.
Michaela has been just such an angel, and uh, it is because of Michaela and my family that I believe I am still alive today, and I am so as I feel as successful as I do,
Yeah.
and I want to keep taking on new challenges and growing as a person and as an entrepreneur. Um, I I just had to marry that woman. Uh, it's funny too. We wrote our own vows, and she promised to have bacon, keep the house stocked with bacon and bourbon, and I promised to never let my eye wander. Of course, it's funny. Anytime I rub I do like a scratch around my eyelids or wipe a tear or anything like that. Sometimes I spin my prosthetic eye,
Oh my God.
which then makes it look like a wandering eye.
Ah.
Um, so while she's holding true to her vows, I've not been able to keep my own.
Oh my God. I just your whole outlook on life is just amazing. I'm just speechless. I I don't know how you did it, and you're just such an inspiration. Absolutely, just so inspirational.
Well, thank you. I mean, I truly believe that there's nothing special about me. I'm your average Joe. I was just put in an extraordinary situation.
Right.
We can't possibly imagine what it's like until we go through the hardship.
Yeah.
But but we all have it in us. We all have the capability. Um, Sometimes resilience happens every day. We get stronger every day, and we become better at it if we uh, choose to take on more challenges. Yeah, like working out your muscles every day, you get stronger.
Hmm.
It's the same with toil and struggle. The more you do it, and the work never gets easier. We just get better.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm looking at your website, and it's beautiful. Just everything that you do, and I can't even bake a cake. I just oh my God. I want
Oh, speaking of baking cake, I just my son just turned 9, and he was talking about having an ice cream cake. I said, okay, sure, I can make that, and it was such a disaster. Uh,
Oh no.
oh my gosh. Yes. First, I made this like did all this normal tricks I do to make it nice and moist, but then it was very delicate, and I'm cutting this thing and I'm trying to put the ice cream in the middle and then kind of smashing the cake, and the ice cream is melting. Yeah, dude. So, and then I made ganache icing for the outside, and I didn't make enough, and it was super sloppy. Oh yeah, the whole thing was a disaster. But Cameron, he didn't care what it looked like. He thought it was delicious, and
Oh,
yeah, it was still fun.
that's great because you're creating memories and you're showing him how it is to just be strong and resilient, and you're just absolutely an inspiration to your family. I love it. And I'm just, oh, and congratulations to your twin boys. I know they've been around for a while, but I just had to tell you.
Oh, thank you. They're such a joy to have around the house, and they're 6 months old now.
Oh my gosh.
Um, they're developing their own personalities already, and it's you thought I thought diffusing bombs was scary. Try diffusing a poopy diaper without looking.
Oh my God. That sounds like fun. Always something fun going on in your house.
Oh yeah, but that's one of the gifts. One of the side effects of no longer being active duty
Yeah,
is that and being an entrepreneur, I can work from home,
that's
and I'm now a stay-at-home dad, which is awesome. I
yeah.
love it.
That certainly is the best feeling to just be able to be there at any time and work whenever you want.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not whenever I
Well,
want,
yeah.
but yeah, we do get to kind of choose our hours, and we're only as successful as the effort we put in.
Right.
But uh, well, Michaela puts in a ton of effort, and I do too, and we also get to spend a lot of time with our kids, which is fantastic.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, everybody needs to go to eodfudge.com. You're going to find everything that you need all in one place. And you can read more about Aaron's story along with Michaela on there. I mean, you've been featured everywhere. Fox Business, Fox Nation, ESPN. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, thanks, and your listeners can follow all of our misadventures on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts at EOD Confections.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Oh, there's a monthly subscription too. I just saw that and got excited. Okay. So you can have it anytime. This is awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. I'm truly honored and just blessed to know you. I can't wait to meet you both in person one day. I really can't. But
Well, thank you so much for having me on, and love chatting with you both here and on Facebook, and I wish you all the best.
thank you so
You're
much. Thank you so much.
you're very welcome.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.